let's suppose you are given a list of numbers and I want you to arrange it in descending order. How do you do that in bubble sort? Basically, what bubble sort is in computer science, bubble sort is an algorithm that we use in order to arrange a particular list of items in either ascending or descending order. So now, for example, here I have an array with 6 elements, 5, 4, 1, 2, 8, 3, and I want this array to be in descending order, which means that the largest number should come first and then all the smaller numbers should follow it. So before we understand the code for bubble sort and how to implement it, first I want to break down the logic. So let's do this with an example. So you always have to start with the starting of the array. So I'm going to draw a tiny man on this array first position, okay? So this man, the name of this man is Mr. Index. He is going to check the index positions of this whole array. So now he is standing on the first index of this whole array. So now the thing is that he wants to move forward in this array. He wants to go to the next position, next position. However, he is going to check one thing first, then he is going to move forward. So now he is standing on the very first position of the array. Now he wants to move forward, but before he moves forward, he is going to check that whether the number he is standing on is it greater than the number that is adjacent to it, that is next to it, which means this and this. It is going to check is 5 less than 4. Now you should keep in mind that the array is going to be sorted in descending order, which means that the greater number should come first, okay? And then smaller number should come after that. Now is 5 less than 4? This condition is false. So he is going to move forward because the condition is false. So now he is allowed to move forward to the second position. So let's take him and move him to the second position of the array. Now we don't need the previous index position, okay? Now he wants to move forward again. Then he is going to check the value he is standing on and the next value adjacent to it. This is Mr. Index and the next value is index plus 1 because it is one index next to it, which means if this is index, this is index plus 1. Now let's check the condition again. Is 4 less than 1? Let's check is 4 less than 1. Again, the condition is false, so he can move forward. As long as this condition is false, that the greater number comes first, he can move forward. Now he is standing on the third index position. Now it's going to check the index position on which he is standing on with the adjacent pair of value. Now he's going to check, is 1 less than 2? Yeah, it is less than 2. So now, since the greater number needs to come first, we need to swap these both positions, which means that 2 needs to come here and 1 needs to go there. Now I want to move this 2 into the position on which 1 is available. However, in this position, 1 is already occupying the space. So how is going to 2 move to the 1 position? So we are going to first take this 1 out of the array and place it into a temporary variable in this box. Temporarily, we are storing this number so that this position can be empty for 2 to occupy. So I'm going to take 2 and place it in the position where 1 was available at first. And now once the second position is empty, I'm going to take my 1 back from this temporary variable and place it back into my array. Now you saw that we switched these sides, which means that a swapping occurred. Now we are going to see the condition. Is 1 less than 2? Now you can see 2 is here and 1 is here. Is 2 less than 1? It's not. So now this man can move forward and check the other values. Now let's check the other set of values. So now this man is standing on 1 and we'll check if this 1 is less than the next value 8. Is 1 less than 8? The condition is true. So now we have to perform swapping on our array. So in order to swap this, I will first take 1 and store it into the temporary box so that the space is empty for 8 to occupy. And then when the space of 8 will be empty, I'm going to take 1 back from the temporary box, and this way our swapping will be successful. Okay, now once the 8 and 1 are swapped successfully, now I can move this man to the next index position and we can compare the next set of values. So let's check. Is 1 less than 3? The condition is true, so we need to perform some swapping. So I'm going to move 1 to the temporary variable and I'm going to move 3 into the first position and take back 1 into the second position. Now you can see that we reached the end of our array, but I need you to realize something, that the smallest value among these all number, which was 1, it bubbled up to the very last position. So this is how bubble sort works. It takes the very smallest value and bubbles it up all to the last position. The same way, when this man will start from the first position of array again to sort this array, it is going to sort the second most smallest value and bubble it up to the second last position. And then the loop will continue. The man will start from again till this whole array is sorted. You can really think of bubble sort like a fizzy drink in a glass. When you pour a fizzy drink in a glass, the bubbles start to pop up to the surface. So this is really how you can remember bubble sort as well. As you saw that 1 was the smallest number and it bubbled up to the very last position. So you have to keep in mind now
Now
that
he
we
started all
won't
over again and
compare
our
1
one
again
item
and
is
again
sorted.
in the
Now
next
let's
loops.
move to the whole
Okay, so
array
we
again.
will
So
consider
now
this
this
part of the array as
position on which
sorted.
he is standing
We
on
will
is
start
going to
from the
compare it with the
first array
next position.
position again
Index is
all the
compared
way
with the
till the
index
second
plus
last
1
position.
position.
We won't check
So
the
is
last
5 less
element
than
because it
4?
is sorted now.
It's not. So he can move forward without swapping anything. Now he's going to check again. Is 4 less than 2? Is 4 less than 2? It's not. So he's going to move again without swapping anything. Now he is going to check again. Is 2 less than 8? Is 2 less than 8? It is true. Now which means you have to swap the things. It means you have to bring 8 here. But to bring 8 there, you have to first take out the 2. So it will go to the temporary box and 8 will move to the first index, the index position that the man was standing, and we're going to take 2 back from our box and place it here. Now this swapping occurred. Now this man can move. If the condition comes true, then person has to swap it first, then move. So now let's take him and place it here. Now he's going to check again. Is the index position he is standing on, is this less than 3? Is 2 less than 3? It is, which means it needs to be swapped. So in order for 3 to come here, I need to take out this 2, because if I move it directly there, the 2 will get lost. So I'm going to first save it into this box, then bring this 3 back in here. Now you can see that the second most smallest value 2 is also sorted, and we have our array sorted till here. So we are going to start till the second last position, and we won't check the last two values again. So let's start from the first position again. Now check, is 5 less than 4? It's not true. So it means that this man can move forward. So index is incremented. Now see, is 4 less than 8? Yeah, the condition is true. So we need to perform swapping. So let's do the same thing again. We will move 4 into our temporary box so that this space becomes empty, so that we can move 8 in there, and then we will take our 4 back from the box and place it into the second position. So now this both values are swapped, and this man can move forward. Now it will compare it with 3. Is 4 less than 3? It's not, so it's false. So the man moves forward. Now we won't check the rest of the array because it's already sorted up till there. So this man is going to start from the first position again. So now let's check again. Is 5 less than 8? This condition is true, so which means we have to do swapping. So let's move 5 into our temporary box so that it becomes empty, and we can move 8 in there. So now we will take our 5 back from the box and keep it here. Now this man will move forward. Now it's going to compare 5 and its adjacent value 4. Is 5 less than 4? Which is false. So we are not going to perform swapping, so this man is going to move forward. Now you can see that our whole array is sorted 8, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we're going to stop here, and this is how bubble sort worked. It took all the smaller values, popped it up to the last positions, and this is the code. Now we are going to jump to the code for the bubble sort. See how the pseudocode for this bubble sort works. Basically, this array that we sorted earlier, the name of this array, let's suppose it's data array. It has 6 elements, all of integer type. Now, before we understand this while loop, first let's see this for loop. How does this work? So for index 1 to 5, I told you that if we have 6 elements, we will use 5 loops. If we have 10 elements, we will use 9 loops. If we have 8 elements, we will use 7 loops. It works like that, okay? You have to always use minus 1 total number of elements, okay? So now see this line. If data array index. So this man worked as the index, okay? So basically this line, data array, this means that this array, and this is the position of that element wherever the man is standing. It means that this guy, wherever he is standing, go and check that element, okay? If this is greater than the next element, which means index plus 1, as you can see this block of code here, data array index plus 1. If data array index, this means that this position on which the man is standing, if this is greater than data array index plus 1, this means that it is checking this position on which this man is standing. This man, you can call him as index. If it is greater, then you have to forward. You have to increment the position on which the man is standing. You won't perform a swap. So here basically this is the code for arranging the data in ascending order. So I want this data to be arranged in descending order, so that's why I'm going to write smaller than here. Since you can see 5 is not less than 4, right? So this block of code, there will be no swapping, okay? And the index value will increment to 2, which means that this man is going to move forward to the second index. Now the value of index is 2, which means that in this
in this line data array index 4 is stored. It's going to compare, is 4 less than 2? Since it's not less than 2, this condition is false. So this then will not execute, and the value of index is going to be 3, which means that this man is going to move forward on the third position. Now you can see that the value of index is 3. It is going to compare 2 and 1. So 2 is on the index position and 1 is index plus 1. Is 2 less than 1? It's not. The condition is false. So it will not execute the then block, and then the value of index is going to be 4, which means that this man is going to move forward. Now the index value is 4. Now let's check, is 1 less than 8? This is the fourth index position, this is 5, which means this is index and this is index plus 1. Is 1 less than 8? It is true. Now this then block will execute, and there will be swapping performed. Now I told you that before we swap elements, we have to first store this value in a temporary variable, this value. So we are going to store this in a temporary variable. Here the name of the variable is temp swap, in which data array index is stored, which means now 1 will be stored in temp variable. And now once this value of 1 is empty, 8 can be swapped in its position. And once the 8th position is empty, 1 can be transferred back into the value, into the array position. So this 1 will move back to here. So the same thing is happening here. That first you have to save the current value into a temporary variable. Then you have to store the second value in the first position. You have to store data array index plus 1 into data array index, and then in the second position you have to bring back the temp value. Okay, so this is basically how a swap occurs. And once the swap occurs, you have to create a variable at the start of the code known as the swap occurred. This is going to check whether a swap happened or not. So let's now check that. In the very first line, it is written swap occurred is equal to true. First you have to set it to true, then you have to apply a while loop. While this swap occurred is true, then you have to do this all execution. But as you enter this loop, you have to set this to false, because at the starting you have no swaps, right? You are just starting with the array. So that's why you will first set it to false, and once a swap happens, then you will turn it to true. So this is the whole code for bubble sort array. I hope you understood it.